From the New York Times, it's The Headlines. I'm Tracy Mumford. Today's Wednesday, May 7th. Here's what we're covering.
What we have in Rome right now is a case of conclave fever. Over the last 2 weeks, Vatican City has been full of cardinals. They've been in the back rooms of churches, spinning about what type of pope they want. They won't say exactly who they want, but they'll get close by saying what characteristics they're looking for. Around St. Peter's Square, you'll see reporters trying to ambush cardinals on the way out of these daily meetings that they have behind Vatican walls. In restaurants, waiters will also give you their short list based on who's been eating there and what they're overhearing at tables. Everyone's just desperate to know as much as they can about which way these 133 cardinals are leaning.
My colleague Jason Horowitz is covering the Conclave, the Catholic Church's ritual for selecting the next pope. It begins this afternoon when the eligible cardinals will be locked inside the Sistine Chapel. They'll stay there and vote until a two-thirds majority can agree on which one of them will lead the church and its 1 billion members worldwide. The ballots will be burned after each round, and the chimney of the chapel will release colored smoke, black if there's no consensus, and white when they've made a decision. Jason says it seems the majority of cardinals want a moderate choice, perhaps with a touch of Pope Francis's progressive interests, but without his tendency to rock the boat as much.
Conclaves are always unpredictable because, you never know who's going to come out of it as pope. But this one seems especially unpredictable because there are so many new faces, so many new cardinals that Francis appointed from all over the world. So because they don't know each other, it's harder to form new alliances. And not everybody has such a good read on everyone's politics, their ideology, their culture. There's all sorts of things that people don't know about one another. And so these past 2 weeks have been sort of a learning process, a speed dating, if you will, for these guys to decide who amongst them has the charisma, who has the leadership abilities, and who agrees with them on their vision for the church.
At the moment, the two most talked about candidates to replace Pope Francis are Cardinal Parolin of Italy, considered a steady, competent, if somewhat bland option, and Cardinal Tagle of the Philippines, who would be the first pope from Southeast Asia and who shares Francis's dedication to working with the poor. Jason says no one's expecting them to send up white smoke today, but if there's still black smoke at the end of tomorrow or on Friday, it's a sign that perhaps the unpredictable nature of this conclave is making it hard to reach a consensus. Early this morning, India said it had carried out multiple military strikes against Pakistan. India views it as retaliation for a terror attack that killed more than 24 civilians in Kashmir a few weeks ago. It's accused Pakistan of harboring terrorists, which Pakistan denies. In the strikes, India says its forces hit 9 different sites across the region, and Pakistani military officials said at least 8 people have been killed.
India will now face Pakistan's very fierce response.
In a TV interview, a top Pakistani official said his country would retaliate.
Make no mistake, because our desire for peace should not be mistaken for our weakness.
Pakistan and India have been arch enemies for decades, and there are fears that the new surge in violence could lead to an all-out war between the two countries, which are both nuclear powers. At the White House yesterday,
we had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore.
President Trump said the U.S. had reached an agreement with the Houthis. The U.S. will stop bombing Yemen, where the militant group is based, and the Houthis will stop attacking American ships in the Red Sea.
They were knocking out a lot of ships going, as you know, sailing beautifully down the various seas.
For more than a year, the Houthis have been launching strikes against commercial and military ships along what had been one of the busiest shipping routes in the world, saying they were attacking out of solidarity with the people of Gaza. The attacks caused major disruptions to global trade, and in the past few months, the U.S. had launched a $1 billion military campaign against the group that was so intense, some U.S. military commanders were concerned it was depleting the Pentagon's stockpiles.
The Houthis are very skilled at propaganda, and they pretty much immediately began portraying this announcement from Trump as a major win for them, almost that, the U.S. is standing down.
My colleague Vivian Nierheim has been covering the conflict.
Of course, the Americans are also celebrating it as a victory, and What actually sort of matters in terms of the effects for global shipping are two things that we need to wait to see, basically. Are the Houthis going to stop attacking any ships at all? Is it purely, American vessels? Are they going to continue to target vessels that they believe are linked to Israel? And then we also need to wait to see how the shipping industry is going to react to this degree of uncertainty. Does this really change their evaluation of how risky it is to sail through the Red Sea and pass Houthi territory? Or are they going to take the safer route around the southern tip of Africa, which they've already been doing for a very long time at this point?
Now, 3 more quick updates on the Trump administration. The Times has learned that U.S. officials are planning to send a group of migrants to Libya as part of the administration's deportation efforts. Many details of the plan are unclear, including the nationalities of any migrants that would be sent and where they would end up. But Libya has a network of detention centers that have been used to house migrants who tried to get to Europe from Africa. Human rights groups have called those centers, quote, a hellscape, where people have faced sexual violence, torture, and even slavery. If it goes through, the Libya operation would mark the latest deal the administration has made with a foreign country to take migrants from the U.S. Hundreds of people have been deported to a prison in El Salvador, and there have been early talks with Rwanda about sending migrants there. Also,
my sense is that this will be about de-escalation, not about the big trade deal, but we've got to de-escalate before we can move forward.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and other administration officials are set to have their first formal trade meetings with China since President Trump hit the country with tariffs of over 100%, escalating the trade war between them. The tariffs have sent economic shockwaves through both countries, threatening to raise prices for American consumers and potentially put millions of people out of work in China. The talks are scheduled for this weekend in Switzerland. And those little blue stickers with a star on them that are on a lot of dishwashers and refrigerators? They come from Energy Star, a government program designed to help consumers easily spot efficient appliances and save money on energy costs. Now, the administration has announced the decades-old initiative is ending as it guts programs that were designed to fight climate change. The head of one energy efficiency advocacy group told The Times that Energy Star only cost about $30 million a year to run, but it saved American households and businesses $40 billion a year on their utility bills. And finally, here's an interesting job offer for you, depending on how much you would like to escape from the world and how you feel about smoked fish. The owner of a fish smokery on a remote island in Scotland is giving his business away if you're willing to commit to living there. The island, Conclave, has a population of 125, the majority of whom are over 60. The owner wants there to be more young people, so he thinks the ideal candidate for the smokery will be from a young couple or family. After putting the offer out there this week, he told The Times he's gotten a lot of interest already. Quote, I'm getting loads and loads of inquiries from people I'd call dreamers and schemers. This is not the first one of these kind of offers. In the past few years, Ireland's offered to pay people willing to live on remote islands, and an island in Greece launched the same kind of scheme. If you are considering Conclave, it is reachable by ferry. It's got a golf course, a bookshop, and sandy beaches. You can send us a postcard or some salmon. Or no, maybe no fish in the mail. Those are the headlines. Today on The Daily, the legacy of Warren Buffett, who announced he's stepping down from his role running one of the most successful companies in modern history. That's next in the New York Times audio app, where you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Tracy Mumford. We'll be back tomorrow.